What's up, everyone? We are here inside of Cafe Kubal, Sweetheart Corners, in the grand opening. This is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I'm joined by my very special guest, Mary Grimes. And I decided to call this the Grind with Grimes, and then you said you already have something like that. So tell everybody what you call it in recruiting.
Yeah. Grimes on the grind.
Grimes on the grind. So coffee grinds, Mary Grimes, being on the grind, which we all know about here on Wake Up Call. So it just made sense to have the Grind with Grimes, and you already had it. So smart minds here. And so Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on site, on location, as we feature the grand opening of Cafe Kubal on Sweetheart Corners. And of course, we continue the awesome and very special that just happened a few days ago, hard to believe, September 1st. So 10 days ago, we officially announced the multimedia marketing partnership with LeMoyne Dolphins. So we have LeMoyne here for some Dolphin time. We have Cafe Kubal here in celebration of their grand opening on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road, which you know as Sweetheart Corners here in North Syracuse. So excited to be here for so many different reasons, and it's a beautiful day. So welcome, Mary.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited, and not only to be with you, but I love coffee as well, so this is perfect.
And I like that. Can we tell the story of what you said to the team yesterday when they were running and whatnot and told you that they drank water, and your response to them?
I drink a lot of coffee. So I'm happy they drink water, but, coffee keeps me running, and I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be here as well, as we are fully into school being back, and the Dolphins. I know that basketball is not here yet. It's coming very close, and you're practicing, but to know that the LeMoyne Dolphins, like other schools around the country, went over 600 days without competition, went almost 2 calendar years without being on a field or on a court. When I say that to you, what's the first thought?
I'm like, my mind is blown. It's just unbelievable that they had that much time off, and getting them back in the gym, a little rusty, but it's just been, we're really grateful that we have the opportunity, and we talk about that all the time. It's just being grateful because we know it could go away in an instant, and that we're really excited to just be back on the court.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that, we talked about it off the air, a very interesting story. I had the awesome opportunity to speak with Joanna Dabrowski about her return. And the irony of life, there's something about sports where they say it's a small world, but the sports world is smaller. And they say things are ironic, but they're more ironic when it comes to sports, that you were an assistant coach under Gina, Castelli, a good friend of mine, and you coached the post players and recruited Joanna. And now, with you being the head coach, you recruited Joanna to be the assistant coach, and now she's coaching the post players as a former post player. So this whole pay it forward thing is directly it's synced up perfectly.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very fortunate to have Joanna back, and, it makes some of the nuances a little bit easier having her around. On the first day I said, you got to go get your ID card and get your computer set up. And she's like, okay, and she knew exactly where to go. So it's been really good in that respect. And, I was very fortunate under Coach Castelli because all my career I coached the guards. And so I said, I need to expand my resume. Can I coach the post? And she allowed me to do that, and I built a really good relationship with Joanna, and she's really, really a hard worker. And that's what I remember most, her energy, and that she worked hard on the court. And it's just carried over into her working career. So I'm really excited and lucky to have her.
And she asked some really difficult questions.
I heard.
She definitely knows how to put me on the spot. I was like, rapid fire, this is what we do for years on Wake Up Call, and this is what it's all about. And she goes, okay, first question. And then she was just right in it, and I was like, well, if you got a mind like that on your coaching staff, you should be okay, because if she challenges me, I would believe that she could challenge the players.
Yeah, and she's really good at relationships. I think that's one of the big things with her as well, is that she can talk to anybody. She's very friendly, very open, and like you said, she's got a lot in that brain of hers, and I welcome it on our staff.
Why her? Why Joanna? I know that she was your former player, but of anybody you can hire to be an assistant, why her?
Well, first is she knew LeMoyne. She graduated from there. She had a great love for it, and on your show, she told you she loved the snow. I mean, that was just one of the perks, you know.
One of 4 people, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but we play inside, so it's okay. But like I said, she worked hard. She has a passion for LeMoyne, and she loves Syracuse. So, you know, it just seemed like a good fit. She's young, but she's open to learn, and she works hard.
Yeah, and I like that, you know, that she said, she's like, man, I love the snow. And she grew up at Skinny Atlas, and I'm listening to her talk about this, and this is my thing with people. Like, I've lived in other places. A lot of people in central and upstate New York, they've lived here, you know, most of their lives. And generationally, my parents and my grandparents and whatnot, they lived here. And so when people say that they hate the snow, I'm like, well, like, it's not like it sneaks up on you and it's like a surprise, you know? It's not like it spooks you, like we're living in Florida and it's 97 and then there's like a snowstorm. So I always tell people, like, you know what's coming.
Yep.
So I used to tell my dad's mom, my grandma on my dad's side, I was like, Grandma, you complain about it every year, but you chose to be here. So embrace it. And I also tell people, I'm like, listen, there's hurricanes, tornadoes, there are monsoons, mudslides, earthquakes, all of these things that happen. I said, we are the only place where we have a storm that you can play in when it's done.
Yep.
So I'll take the snow
Yep,
above you know, hurricane whoever.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so
for sure. Yeah.
I definitely can ride with the snow, and you know, I mean, after storms in like the Midwest, you can't. I guess you can make a debris angel, but like here, you know, you make a little snow angel.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with the snow for those of you that are worried. That's what I'm trying to say. And I like, you know, I haven't made a snowman in a long time, but I think I need to get on that. I don't know where the winter's going to be this year. I feel like it's going to be mild.
I'm fine with that.
I think it's going to be all right.
Now the kids, you know, and Santa might disagree, but without snow, there's no Santa. So we get the best of both worlds.
I thought about that as a kid. I'm like, how's he supposed to know to come here? It was 70 degrees. It was muddy outside.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, like, if it snows at no other time, it has to snow on
Yes,
Christmas.
it has to. It has to.
Are you a lights on the lake person? Have you been there?
I have not been there. I've been to the one in Albany. They have
Okay.
lights in the park. But when recruiting, I drive by it all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to make sure I make a stop there, get us some hot cocoa, and drive through the lake.
Yeah, lights on the lake. And they're actually, I was walking on the parkway with my dog Lily yesterday, and they're setting, they keep some of the lights in the trees all year long.
Yeah.
And which is something like Disney would, for Christmas, Disney would have their lights set up in August. And you just like didn't pay attention to them, but they were all there because they didn't turn them on. And yesterday, they were starting to set up the actual pieces of lights on the lake.
Wow.
So they had like all the things like out, stacked up and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're getting lights on the lake ready right now here in September. For those of you that are like, no, but it's happening.
It's prep time.
Yeah, it's prep time. So speaking of prep time, how has prep time gone as you found your way back to LeMoyne? How has practice gone?
Yeah, it's going really well. We increased, we're lifting 4 days a week, so I think that's just going to help with our overall strengths. So that's going really, really well. Our strength coach, Ben, he's amazing. He's an alum. So he gets them in there, gets them a good lift, and getting on the court has been awesome. You know, we get in there for 4 hours a week, and we can, work on individual development, put in a little bit of defense this week. And a little bit of transition offense. So it's good to kind of see where they are and, where they would fit in the system we're going to run. And, again, thankful to Coach Castelli. She left me with a lot of upperclassmen. So a lot of those things, there are limited corrections I have to make, So they're working hard, which is awesome,
So, not only having vets, but because of how Gina coaches and the people that she brings in, like you said, you have to make limited corrections. So I'm sure that's a phone call, maybe a gift basket, a thank you to Gina.
For sure. We talk quite frequently, just about how I'm doing personally, how the program's doing. And, she's always been a mentor to me. So that relationship hasn't changed.
And to go back to that, when Gina, you and I talked about it when we first spoke, and here at Cafe Kubal at the grand opening of Sweetheart Corners, corner of Route 11 and Taft Road, we decided to have the grind with Grimes. So I couldn't usher in a grand opening at Cafe Kubal this morning on this beautiful day without a Dolphin sitting across from me here, and not any Dolphin, but Miss Mary Grimes, because I don't want to put all you coaches on alert, but when I call Mary, I get a, "What's up, Dan?" So I need your energy to be high when I call you, coaches. I need you to be there. I'm talking to you, Dan Sheehan. I'm talking to Nate Champion. Some of those guys. They're all great. They're awesome. But
Set the bar high, huh?
You set the bar really high because because that's me. Like, I'm energy. I'm positive. I'm excited. I try to smile. And when I call somebody who's like there or like above it, like, I love that. So when I got, "What's up, Dan?" I was like, well, obviously my day's better now. So coaches, you got to know that Mary does that. You stack it. You put it high on that one. So you got the energy. So let's go back to Gina times and Gina bringing you in here. What about Gina Castelli just made you feel like I can learn from her?
Well, I mean, I played for her,
Yeah.
so the apple didn't fall far from the tree, what we were about as far as, winning and how to win and winning the right way, with the right attitude, the right work ethic, and, what she had built at LeMoyne, just helping her take it at the next step. And, I think, the transition from me being her player to her assistant was really cool because I had the experience. So just like I'm telling you, like, she left me with some seniors that have experience and some of those things, like, calling for the ball and, just working hard overall. She didn't have to teach me as an assistant, like how to dress on the road, who to call. I had all those relationships as far as recruiting, and I worked hard. I had to go I humbled myself, but I was willing to humble myself, like having to do film again. I hadn't done film in like 10 years before I came back to LeMoyne, so it was just a great relationship, and, I'm really thankful for that opportunity.
You say, like, obviously playing for her helped you to just know that. When you think about Joanna coming back, did you think of yourself and have that piece of, like you said, she knows LeMoyne and she knows you. You know how it was with Gina. So did you see that parallel with Joanna saying, "Hey, you know what? I want to hit the ground running, and if I do that, I already know what this can be like when you already have that chemistry"? Yeah,
for sure. That was one of the biggest things is, maybe she doesn't have that recruiting piece yet, or maybe she doesn't have, her coaching skills home, but she knows LeMoyne. So when we bring people on campus, she can speak to that firsthand, and that's invaluable. There's things like one of the players needed to get like a desk removed from their dorm. I don't know who to call, but Joe knows who to call. So I'm like, "Joe, help this kid out." So those little nuances have been flawless in her transition. So that's one of the biggest things is she knows LeMoyne. Everything else she can figure out, and I'm willing to help her learn and teach her.
You have been to so many different places, and you've gotten to experience different things. For those who don't know, share with everybody, the road when you played at LeMoyne, the road back to LeMoyne.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm originally from Detroit. I played at Siena for Coach Castelli.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so...
You played Siena, and then...
Yeah.
So my better way to say this is, realizing as I said it, was that Siena with Gina, and then here as an assistant. Yeah. So bring me from Siena to here, and then back here.
Yeah, and it's really I think it's a funny story, but I got that first phone call from Siena, and I just thought it was too far. And I hung up the phone. It was a good conversation. I said, "I'm not going to New York, and I've been here for 20 years." Yeah. So played at Siena for Coach Castelli, got a degree in marketing and management, and, like most student athletes, didn't know what I wanted to do, really. So I ran the coach and I said, "I want to coach," and she was on the phone with the then head coach, Gina Dupree. And I worked at LeMoyne for 2 years with Gina, and then worked at Syracuse for 5. Went back to the Albany area at University of Albany. Took a year off just to help with my family. I have 2 children. And then when I was getting back into it, I had some other opportunities, but it was a really good fit for me to come back to LeMoyne. Work-life balance was important to me at that time, and I worked with Gina for 2 years. And then one of her former players and assistants ended up getting the job at Xavier, Melanie Moore. And so she asked me to be on her first staff at Xavier, and that was unbelievable. You know, finally got back to the Midwest, but the Heights called me back. So, like I said, I've been here since July 1 at LeMoyne as the head coach, and it's been a roller coaster, but it's been a fun roller coaster. And I don't like roller coasters, but this roller coaster is unbelievable.
You know, and having that from Siena and Albany and Syracuse, I mean, you were staying in LeMoyne, you were staying within this upstate New York area. So you know the area, and being a part of that, obviously it helps in recruiting, because if you recruit the right way, you build those relationships, and even when coaches change and people move and things happen, you have a relationship with that school, you have a relationship with ADs, you can build those bonds, and they get deeply rooted. And when somebody goes from, I mean, if you do things right, in my belief, and let's say you're recruiting CNS down the road, and the AD of CNS leaves and goes to somewhere in Albany, but you already have the roots in CNS in the community, now you have CNS and now you have Albany.
Yep.
So anybody who knows how to network the right way knows that you always add, you don't delete.
For sure.
And so, you know, for you, I can imagine having this like connected corridor of upstate New York. You've been able to really, like Western New York, downstate, upstate, you've been able to really build something that can last and deep roots that are going to help you out.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I just keep adding. I talked to a coach out in Rochester yesterday. The coach got me in contact with, and, you know, just keep adding to those contacts. And, you know, when I make a phone call, like you said, people think I'm from New York because I've been here so long, you know, so I really tried to make sure I build good relationships within the New York area.
We brought it up last night when the Syracuse football alumni, we had a broadcast at the Wildcat, and another great partner, and I was sitting with Rob Carpenter and Rob Drummond and Duke Pettijohn when we brought this up, and they, like so many, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, Mary, but they, like so many, because you were at Syracuse, another player that was at Syracuse, and the first one to have her jersey retired in the Dome, Coach Jack, is in Buffalo. Everybody and their mother wants her here. What are your thoughts on Coach Jack?
I mean, I love her. She's actually one of the reasons I got the job at UAlbany. The person who got the UAlbany job, Katie Abrahamson Henderson, she was in her wedding. So she was just like, if you're looking for a New York person, go check out Mary. And so that's why I went to Albany. So I love Coach Jack just for that opportunity. And I mean, if it's in the cards for her, then I think she'll do it. But it's up to her, whatever she'd like to do. You know, I know she's Miss Syracuse though, and I would love the opportunity to just, you know, pick her brain more, you know, 10 minutes down the road as opposed to maybe 2 hours down the road.
Well, and it's just interesting. It was like the timing of everything, because obviously you know Q,
yeah.
And Gina gave Q his first job.
Yep.
So, like, we all know Q, and Q was here for a while. And then Vaughn, who I got to know through Q for almost a decade, then they move him up this year, and it makes sense, you know, try to keep things as good as you can in this transition. But then her name gets brought up, and she comes and plays the charity game yesterday. So now she's in the Dome, on the court, playing the game, and I'm like, yeah, you ain't helping yourself out, if you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, she's going to, it's kind of like, is this person in the movie? And you're like in a Marvel movie, and you're wondering, are they going to cameo? Are they going to cameo? And then they show up on the red carpet, and they're like waving and stuff, and you're like, well, why are they here? You know what I mean? So I think the picture is getting painted, and everybody else was painting it. And now with her being back here in the community, the picture's, you know, it's coming into clearer view maybe. So I know people that wanted it to happen are now like, oh my God, she was in the Dome. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but she loves Syracuse. She loves her alma mater. She loved, you know, her experience there. So it's not out of her realm to do these things, you know. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. Well,
we'll see. We'll stay tuned. We will stay tuned. But I mean, in this world of coaching, do you try, like you said, you know, have her 10 minutes down the road instead of a couple hours? when you build these relationships and you find out you're all going to be in the same state and whatnot, how does that help? Even if it's D1, D2, D3, JUCO, how does it help to have those relationships with like an OCC or a Syracuse or a Siena or some of these other places?
I mean, it really helps in recruiting, I would say. I tried to hit the ground running as soon as I got the job, and I was out on the road, I'm on the phone, and a couple players that I may not have seen, a good friend of mine at University of Albany, Yvonne Hawkins, she said, Mary, make sure you check out so-and-so, and then I have a good friend out at Niagara, Jada Pierce, head coach there, and she's always been a encyclopedia of players. So it helps having those relationships. So when I got here, if I didn't already know them, they were helping me out with them. They're like, I don't need a point guard right now, but Mary, you should check out this point guard. So it's been a blessing in that respect as well too.
How much does it become, a club in a way when you've been coaching and, obviously you build your reputation, you build your respect, you build your network? How does it become kind of that club where everybody is, in a way, sharing when they're saying, I don't need this, but maybe you need this right now, or, you should go check this person out. I was just in Buffalo. Because some people hoard, right? They just take it all in. They don't tell anybody about anything. And you're talking about people saying, oh, no, you know what? I saw this. I think you should go check out this person. I think you should go to this school. They seem to churn a point guard every couple years. Just to know that there's people that will share.
Yeah, I think it comes with my personality too, because I'm not afraid to share. I think if we all are doing it right and doing it for the right reasons, then the whole game of women's basketball is successful. Yeah. That's one thing Gino says, I can get any player I want, but if we're not successful as a whole, then, what are we doing for the game? So, I don't hoard. It comes with me. I'm just trying to help the next player, the next person out as best I can.
So we're here with Mary Grimes, the Grind with Grimes happening while they're grinding up the coffee here at Cafe Kubal, Sweetheart Corners, corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse. And this is the grand opening, and Wake Up Call gets to usher it in for you. So, of course, myself, Dan Tortora, and Mary Grimes of LeMoyne, their new women's basketball head coach, but a familiar face on the Heights. I love hearing, because growing up, to me, it was LeMoyne. My dad went to LeMoyne, and I knew it as LeMoyne. But then Bob really introduced me to the Heights, saying the Heights. So I love it because it sounds like a movie to me, and then it reminds me of New York City and whatnot. So what do you like about calling it the Heights, and how do you define the Heights, I guess?
I guess, it could have a lot of meanings. But one of the things is the awesome views of the Heights. Like when you go up on the academic side of the campus and you look out, you can see all of Syracuse, you can see East Syracuse, and it's almost like what your future can be. What is the height of your future? So I guess that's what it means to me, and that's pretty cool that it can have multiple meanings for anyone, and it's a special place with special people, and I'm happy to be here and love being around on campus.
Can I tell you what it makes me think of? Because it's so I think it's unique to me. Maybe somebody else thinks of this, but the movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales, it's a comic book. Well, it's an animated adaptation of a difficult concept that I think, and I said this before, I was like, if they make this work, you're going to bring it to adults and kids in a cartoon, and they're going to tell you this complex thing in a cartoon, because if it works, then they'll do it live action, which they are on December 17th. And I don't care what Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire says, y'all are in the movie. So when I hear the Heights, I think of the song Sunflower that's in Miles Morales is listening to it when he's walking through the streets of New York City. And that's the and literally plays in my head every time I hear the Heights. And that's a good thing. That's a huge compliment to LeMoyne. And I just heard it again because I had heard it so much when it first came out, and then I didn't hear it for a little while, and it popped on yesterday or the day before, and I was like, all right, I like this, but that's what it makes me think of when I think of the Heights.
Yeah, and you're lucky that I understand what you're talking about, because I have a 13-year-old and a 5-year-old at home, so they hog the TV and I have to watch these shows, and they didn't have any type of conversation. I have to talk about these things, but and my son's in the car, and I'm like, "You're the DJ." He'll put on Sunflower, and then we'll rock out to it. So that's pretty neat.
We talked off the air here in the Grind with Grimes. We spoke on music back in the day, just being spoiled, and right before we went on air, Mary went, "It was all a dream." And so Notorious, is he the best ever?
I have no vote in this.
You got no vote?
No,
Okay.
I mean, I'm more R&B. I'm
Okay.
more Mary J. Blige.
Okay.
You
So
know.
who's the best ever in R&B?
Mary J. Blige.
Okay. I think you say it to some people now, and people are like, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, Mary J. Blige.
Yeah.
Back in when she had they're like, "How many songs does she have?" I'm like, "I don't know, 80." And she was in a remix with Fabulous and oh my goodness, who else was in that? I think Rick Ross was in it too. But there's and I didn't even know she was on this newer track. And you just hear her say "la-di-da" in the beginning, and she just sings it, and I'm just like, oh, Mary J. Blige. So, I mean, and she just knew she was when she was doing it her way. It was just her, because she wasn't trying to be Whitney, she wasn't trying to be Janet. She was there are people that people emulate, and she's one of those people.
Yeah.
That's how you know when you're not a trend continuer. She's a trend setter.
Yeah, and she's got a documentary. I think it's on Amazon. Okay. My daughter accidentally purchased it, so we had it for a month, so I got to watch it before I canceled. But that was really cool to see the inside, workings of her life and how the music came. And like what you said, it wasn't about being Whitney, it wasn't about being Janet. It was just how can I be the best Mary? Yeah. Mary.
Yeah, there you go. So you got Mary Grimes.
Yeah.
And Mary J. Blige, so it makes sense here. But, I mean, I remember, I don't know why I do this to myself, but I always, tell stories where I'm like, man, if somebody, I think the thing is you use the ammo that somebody else would put in their gun. Is that how I look at it? You take the bullets and you just fire them away yourself. And what I mean by that is, when I was dating this girl and I was 12, she wanted me to buy her stuff all the time. And I was 12 years old. I was like, I don't have no job. I used to mow lawns and stuff. And she wanted me to buy her all these things. And every time my aunt would come into town, we would go to BJ's. And when we went to BJ's in East Syracuse, she would say, pick out whatever you want, CD or a movie, and you can get one thing. So I got Mary J. Blige's album, and they didn't take the plastic off, so I actually broke the cover of it. And when this girl kept asking for stuff, I was like, man, I don't have anything. I gave her the Mary J. Blige CD that I had already listened to and opened. Okay. And she was like, why is it open? And when I was like, oh, I just wanted to test it to make sure it worked for you. And then I think I got it back. But when I think of Mary J. Blige, I think about that time that I re-gifted something.
But I mean, you could have blamed it on the used CD store at that point. They had them back then. You can go to a corner and get CDs and
I didn't care.
I know.
I was like, man, whatever. I was like, here's your Mary J. Blige CD. And I was like, and then when we broke up, I was like, can I get that back?
That's right.
Because normally you don't get stuff back.
No.
But music, I'm like,
at
come on.
that age, oh yeah, you got to get that back.
Yeah, I was like,
You're gonna have to tape it off the radio at that point.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, you have to do that. And what I don't like is new cars not having CDs.
Yeah.
You don't have a CD player in a new car, so everything has to be off your phone. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with all the old music that I like?
Yeah.
All my Journeys and all of my, Mary J. Blige and Notorious and Bad Boy Records.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to listen to Mace on Pandora.
No, too many commercials.
Yeah, it is. And they'll play Pandora's good. They do some good stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to have control. I know what track 7 is.
Yeah.
I want to go to track 13 and then go to track 1. Don't make me have to choose. So, and you go on YouTube and it kills your battery. So, because you can do it that way. So my system is just, you don't
You gotta figure it out, Dan. You gotta figure it out.
That's the thing is you don't take from what like you said, we build a network. You don't destroy your network and then build new. You're supposed to continue. These cars are supposed to take what's good, CD players, and add to them with the auxiliary cables and the USB thing. So I'm frustrated, is all I'm saying. a little frustrated with the music. So Mary J. Blige, if she's the best, who's the best male R&B?
Ooh. Is Usher, can you consider Usher R&B? I mean, he's just doing it. And he keeps doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I watched him grow up pretty much. And he's grown up with me.
What did, I think Drake said something where he said, "You were hot when Usher wore a U-chain." So, and that was in the beginning. That was way back when Usher was doing his songs with the tank, the fish tank in the back.
Yeah.
And so I remember all of that.
Yeah.
And you know what I found out? That Usher's Confessions album, those are not his confessions.
Oh, really?
Did you know that?
No, I did not.
That was not him. I was like, oh, so he ain't that bad of a man.
Wow.
It's like, Usher, you need to preface that and
Yeah.
tell people like, this is not me. But I don't know. I'm gonna bring you back to somebody who, when my mom had the cassette tape and we listened in the car and sang to it, because I was sang all my life, and my mom, you know, she beautiful singer. We would always put this tape in the car and sing it, whether we were on a 10-minute ride or a 3-hour ride. And I don't think anybody knew who he was when we did, but now they know him because they know Back at One and all that is Brian McKnight.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, I can feel you on that one. All right, I get you.
Brian McKnight with the original tape that just had his signature, and he was like leaning up against the car with a white T-shirt and sunglasses on, and we would play it, and everybody's like, "Who's Brian McKnight?" I was like, "Listen to the album."
Yeah.
It's,
Now, did you hear that song was actually about like how he installed like a TV or something?
Back at One.
Yeah, like it was like the steps he had to take, and he got back to one.
Really?
To install his TV.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing, like the backstories of this stuff. Where you're like, "Oh my gosh, that was such a beautiful ballad." And I was like, I was writing about cheesecake.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this one time that I saw this stray cat, and it made me think about an ex-girlfriend, and I wrote about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, why? But that's why it's cool to go behind the music, which VH1 used to do, but now I think like Paramount Plus just did something about like going on tour and learning about people's lives. And I want to be a sponge to some of the, like I would have loved to sit with Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah.
I would have loved to, you know, sit with Prince, you know. And Whitney and Bobby, they could probably keep that. I don't know if I want to sit in that room because there's a lot, but like Boys to Men, put me out there now. I would go on their tour bus any day.
Yeah, that'd be cool. For sure, definitely Michael. He's right, probably at the top of my list. Yeah.
Because I just can imagine, like, no matter how mad he gets, like, we're on the bus and it gets a flat tire and he's just like, talks to the bus driver, and let's say his name is Ben, and he's just like, "Ben, what are you doing? Ben, why? Did you not check the air pressure, Ben?" You know, like
Right.
his angriest moment, "What did you do?" You know, like it's just very calm. Be like, how? I can't get mad. I was like, I got mad. I come on the tour bus. Michael's like, "Have a drink. You want a Moscato? What do you need?" You know, and then I'd be totally fine. I'd be
Or
like,
he could just break out and dance. I mean, that would be awesome too.
yeah. I'd be like, "Michael, I need you to do this thing. Like, I need you to go break up with this girl and hand her a note and then moonwalk." Like, and I'll still never forget when he was with Chris Tucker in Rock My World, and he's in the beginning of that where he's like, "Michael, you ain't gonna get that girl," and he's like, "Watch me get that girl," and then the music starts, and I'm just like, "Man, this is awesome." Yeah. It's just, I miss music videos. I know they still do them on YouTube, but like, for what?
Yeah.
MTV isn't MTV anymore. It's Teen Moms and Jersey Shore now.
I don't watch it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your kids buy any MTV for you by accident?
No. No.
So did you watch music videos growing up?
No, we didn't have cable.
Okay.
We didn't have cable growing up, so I was outside playing. I was outside, you know, with the neighborhood kids. We were out there playing soccer, basketball, football, whatever we can get our hands on, baseball, you know. Sandlot was us, you know, scrounging up pop bottles so we could get a baseball or something to play with.
Besides basketball, what were you the best at?
Softball.
Okay.
But I started off playing tennis. Yeah, that was my sport. I played tennis, and it just wasn't enough people for me. I needed some other people.
Yeah.
But softball, I played my junior and senior year in high school, and I was pretty good.
So my feeling on tennis is if I'm on the court and I hit it over the net, it's in play. I don't care where I hit it. I don't care how high I hit it.
It's not the rules.
I don't care. So, because I just played a couple months ago, I thought I did good, and this girl Veronica, that she really wanted to play. So there's a bunch of us out there. She was like fierce about it, and so Veronica's playing, and she hitting back and forth, and I'm hitting it, and I jumped up at one point. It would have went on a bounce, and I'm 5'8", but I can jump, and I hit it and knocked it back to her, and I was proud of myself. I was out there getting everything, and there was a few that got by me, but I thought I did a pretty okay job for being a basketball player. And she said to me, she goes, I did, what did she say to me? She said, I was pretty average and you were below that. And I was just like, but did you see me leap up and do that Kareem? Like, I was like, I thought I did okay, but if I hit it back and it bounces inbounds, it's in play. I don't know what those lines mean, and I don't care.
But it's just like basketball. If you dribble out of bounds, you pass it out of bounds, it's not a play.
Yeah, no, but if it goes over the net and it drops somewhere in that region, you better bring it back to me, or it's your fault. That's how I look at it. I was like, I don't know what these boxes and rectangles mean. I just know that I hit the ball and you're supposed to hit it back. Because that's the whole thing. Like when I was a kid, you're supposed to, you knock things back and forth so that the game keeps going.
Yeah, in theory, yes.
Yeah.
However, to win,
yeah. I'd hit it back to her, and if she swiped and missed it, listen, it's like baseball. If you swipe and you miss it, it's a strike.
Yeah.
So, I was just yelling out things. I don't know what it means. I'm like, 40 love. You know what I mean? I was like, good love. I don't know what I'm doing. But it was sunny, it was hot, and I think I held my own. So I think I was better than pretty average, but I have no idea.
Yeah. As long as you feel good inside, I think that's what matters when it's not your sport.
Yeah, but softball, I can respect because I took a coaching class in college at Marywood, and I had to, so in the coaching class, it was like the nuances of coaching, but we focused the first semester on softball, second on basketball. And it was funny with basketball because, all the students are in there, and they're like, you know how to do all these drills, and all these things, and that where you're supposed to use your hand for this and do that. I was like, I played my whole life. Like, the basketball thing, I just shut my brain off. But softball, I had to lock in because, I didn't know it growing up. And it's not as easy as people think it is, which is what I really wanted to make the point of.
No, and I'll be honest, I really don't know it that well. I played center field in the city. Not that many balls came out there. I maybe got 2 a game, but I could hit and I knew to run the bases. So that's essentially what I did.
You knew to run this way.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you got to know. You hit it, and then people are like, "Go!"
Exactly. I could hit, and I could just run the bases. So that's pretty much what I did, and it was pretty neat. I had a pretty good high school coach, and I still keep in touch with her today.
What's her name?
Coach Ann Turner.
Ann Turner.
Yep, Ann Turner. I keep in touch with her anytime I'm in Detroit. I just drive by her house, and if she's home, we stop. If she's not, we keep on going. But she would do all these signals and everything like that, and I was into it. She's like, okay, the third signal is going to be your signal. And she's all touching her head and her knees and her elbows and her eyes, and I'm like, okay, the eyes was the signal. I need to slap hit. And so she was really good, and I enjoyed learning from her. And like you said, I just keep those relationships. But I had fun, playing softball. But I don't know, if I was playing shortstop or third base,
yeah,
I wouldn't know where to throw it. I'd be honest. I'd just throw it to the closest person or get it back to the pitcher.
Yeah. I would do that when I played Little League. I'd just throw it back. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. You're on my team. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Take it.
Exactly.
And I played left field. And I wanted to pitch. And I was sitting in left field. And I got so bored, I sat down. And I put my glove next to me, and nothing's going on. And I'm literally looking at the grass. I'm picking the grass. I'm thinking about what Jolly Rancher I'm going to get at the stand. And I hear all these people. And all of a sudden, there's this hey! I'm like, who are they screaming at? What's going on? The ball came out and dropped. And God being a comedian, I looked up at God and I was like, really, dude? Because my mitt was right here open. The ball fell next to my mitt because it would have been an out, like the coolest one ever. And then they're like, you need to throw it back. And then I picked it up and I'm like, where do I go? Because I'm like, I didn't do anything out there. So I'm like, do I have to go throw it to third base? I started running infield, holding it. I was like, man, I just need to stay with basketball.
Yeah. That reminds me of a movie, Meet the Robinsons. I don't know, it's a Disney movie where the kid like stayed up all night because his roommate was making a science project, and the ball came to him in right field, and he missed it because he was sleeping out there because he had been up all night, and it ruined his entire life, and so he was trying to get back at his roommate all this time. It's a good one. You should watch it.
Meet the Robinsons.
Meet the Robinsons.
Do you have a favorite Disney movie?
I have a lot, but Wall-E.
Really?
Yes.
Said nobody ever to me, Wall-E.
I know, but it's so futuristic, and it's so relevant to who we are today. You know, they left Earth and they're on this big spaceship, and everything is controlled by computers. They're sitting at a pool, but they're watching their screen, and they have no idea that there's a beautiful pool right in front of them until something happens. Wall-E messes something up, and the character who's overweight because he's not doing anything, he's being pushed around on a motorized chair, and the screen goes off, and he's just like, I've been sitting at a pool this whole time. But that's kind of how we are as where we've progressed. Everything's on our phone, it's on our TV, and we're not noticing everything around us. So that's why I like it. It's just like it brings me back to, don't be on my phone all the time. Notice the things that are around me.
Yeah, and I think it does. It plays to, I mean, the last 18 months, because we become a society of me.
Yeah.
I can live on my phone, and I can get out to the whole world from the comfort of my own phone and my couch, so I don't need to talk to anybody. And it's amazing. There's certain people that legitimately cannot look somebody in the eye and have a conversation. Or, to go like one step further, the people that, like if it was you and I somewhere, as an example, you be texting, I be texting, we're together having a cup of coffee, but I'm texting somebody else, you're texting somebody else, and then when we go hang out with them, we're texting each other, but we were just together and we didn't talk to each other.
Exactly.
It's such a weird world.
Yes.
But the last 18 months was like, lock you in the house, so now people are like, oh, I want to stop and smell the roses.
Yeah.
It is sunny out. I want to take a walk. I want to be with my dog. So we actually talked about this last night. I said, it's not only that you had to learn in the last 18 months, it's that you have to keep the lesson.
Yeah.
Because now that life goes back to somewhat a normal, are you going to fade back into your bad habits, or are you going to actually stick with continuing to work on healthy mind, healthy body?
Yeah.
Are you going to take a walk? Are you going to put your phone down at the dinner table? Are you going to have eye-to-eye conversations? Are you going to chase your dreams? Are you going to work on, you had all this time to work on playing the guitar, and now everything is up and running again. Are you still working on the guitar?
Yeah.
So it's not that you were supposed to learn something. It's you're supposed to keep the lesson.
Right.
And that is the challenge.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm probably, worst mom ever. We get in the car, and my kids do have technology with them, and I'm like, well, you can't have it in the car. You got to pay attention to where you are, because one day you might get lost, and you need to know where you're going.
Yeah.
And there's people out there with a bad sense of direction, but if you're lost within Syracuse, you got to know how to get home. So that's one of my rules when they get in the car. And sometimes I'll test them. I'll be like, okay, we're at this corner. Are we turning right or left? And the 5-year-old's like left because she thinks it's right, and it's completely wrong. And so I just ask her to point.
Left.
Yes, exactly.
I like when people are like, I'm like left, they're like right. I'm like, okay, right. They're like, no, right. And I'm like, yeah, left. And they're like right. And I'm like, who's on first? Because that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
But I can't stand when you have, I shouldn't say I can't stand it. It is comedic. But when someone is your co-pilot and they're supposed to tell you where to go, and they tell you as you're passing it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're supposed to go left back there. You didn't know? I'm like, I didn't know. This is your hometown. Like if I was in Detroit right now, I've been to Detroit Airport.
Yeah.
I've been to downtown Detroit. I've covered games in Detroit. I've walked in Detroit. But driving? No.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I just know from, like you said, I have a photographic memory.
Yeah.
And so when I'm walking, I know, okay, this is where the burger spot is that I liked. This is where I got ice cream. This is where the stadium is. This is where the Lions play. But I got to go to this stadium where the Pistons are because this is where the game's at. And this is how I get back to my hotel.
Yeah.
So I just learned that.
Right.
So I want to learn before we jump back into LeMoyne, as we're here at the Grind with Grimes. Mary Grimes, the new head coach of LeMoyne women's basketball, met Gina Castelli, played for her in Siena, came here as an assistant, and is back as the head coach. And so having a new head coach in a new Cafe Kubal, a lot of newness here today. Loving that here on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road. Sweetheart Corners Cafe Kubal, the first ever Cafe Kubal drive-through, which I love.
Yes.
I can go through there and just like order a water just because I like the fact that they have it. I'm like, do you have water? But I want to learn about Detroit. So what, if I said top 5 things to do in Detroit?
Wow. Okay, you got to go to the zoo.
Okay.
Unbelievable zoo. I love that all the sports teams are downtown now.
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, it was in Auburn Hills to go see the Pistons, and that was a 45-minute drive. So definitely getting downtown to see the sports team.
Okay.
Oddly, just this past summer, I went to Hitsville.
Okay.
I think you should go just pass it. And if you blink, you'll miss it. It's really odd. It's a little house in Detroit that's across from a hospital. And so me and the kids, we drove by and we took a picture. I think you got to go to a Coney Island.
Okay.
A Coney Island is a restaurant. They serve Coney dogs, chili dogs, onions or no onions, but you got to get the mustard on it.
Okay. Okay.
And I'd say last is probably just going downtown to Hart Plaza.
Okay.
You know, they have a lot of events downtown, and it's right on the waterfront, and they've redone it, so it's a nice place to walk.
So you said Hitsville. For people that don't know that.
Motown.
Yes, and that's see. So growing up as a kid, I said that all the time. I was like, if you saw my like catalog, you would think that I was definitely a Motown kid, but it looked like I grew up in like South Central Philly. Like what I listened to was Will Smith,
Yeah.
Notorious, Tupac, a little bit of Tupac, Notorious, Bad Boy Records. It was Nat King Cole, Natalie Cole, Boyz II Men, New Edition, Brian McKnight, Peeble Bryson. I mean, it was every bit of R&B and rap. And the thing was, like, one of my buddies listened to it with me, but there was no rhyme or reason why in Syracuse I was listening to all of this music. I just fell in love with it. So when people are like, do you know Mbop? I'm like, yes, and I don't listen to it. Like, my cousin used to play Spice Girls, and I got, like, no offense to y'all. And you know, the empire that the Beckhams have built, shout out to you guys. A side note, I am not about Spice Girls, Hanson, none of that garbage, you know, and my music's all over the place. But growing up as a kid, like, all I knew was Motown. I honestly, like, I wanted Quincy Jones to come to my house and be like, we want you on that track. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted that. I wanted to sit in a room with all of them. Because I was like, I just imagined that it smelled good. There was some type of incense going on. There's probably some really nice couches, you know? But, yeah, I mean, Motown that's
historic. I mean, you know, but we didn't go inside, but, you know, it's amazing as we were sitting there how many people drive by and just stop their car, get out and take a picture. So it's pretty neat.
You know, I'm still waiting for you, Quincy. So.
My mom might know him, you know, and that's the cool thing, too, is like, my parents grew up there, they're from there, and, you know, my mom, she sang in the church and whatnot. Shout out, Mom, she'll love this.
What's Mom's first name?
Gretchen.
Gretchen.
But she goes by Ann.
Goes by Ann.
Her middle name's Ann.
Okay.
Yeah, so, you know, she'd be like, oh, I was friends with so-and-so last night, you know, and I'm like, wow, you know, that's unbelievable, you know, and it's like, oh, it's before they got to Motown, but the fact that she knew him, I think that's pretty neat.
Well, and that's the thing, like, Rob Drummond, who was with me last night, you know, grew up here, played at Jamesville DeWitt, went to Syracuse for football, went on to the Philadelphia Eagles. He knows Wesley Snipes, Boyz II Men, Will Smith. He said that as a rookie, he came home one day and they had a party in his place that he didn't know about. And he goes, I walk into the room and Will Smith is sitting there with Wesley Snipes. And then I'm talking to him about all this stuff. He knows I love Boyz II Men. And we've been friends for almost a decade. And I call him out publicly all the time about this. I was like, bro, how do you? He's like, oh, my cousin could probably get in touch with them. And I was like, what are you doing? I played their tape so much that I had to get 3 Boyz II Men 2 albums because the tape came out. Like, I practiced my voice with Wanye and all that my whole life when I was 7. And you know them? Oh, yeah, man. I was like, I don't want to talk to you no more. So, and Rob still hasn't set that up, and I'm still pissed about it. But you know who's a comedian that said it? I forget who it was. They said they came home, and Wesley Snipes was supposed to be in jail at that time when he like didn't pay his taxes, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, I came to my, oh, it was Charlie Murphy. Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace.
One of my favorite. I think he's funnier than Eddie. And so Charlie was he was doing a show, and he said that Wesley Snipes is supposed to be in jail. He goes, you know, like something about a person when you come to your house and there's a party in your house that you don't know about. He said, I walk in, I see all these people in the house, Prince and whatnot, and he said, Wesley Snipes is supposed to be in jail, and he's sitting on my couch. And he's like, aren't you supposed to be in jail? And Wesley's like this, yeah. And I was like, I would love to be at those, if I could go back and go to like any, I would go to a Prince party.
Really?
Just to know how nuts that, like, and to know, like, with Charlie talking about it, like, did he actually play basketball, and did he actually serve y'all pancakes when he beat you? Like, I want him to walk, you want some pancakes? You know, I would have loved to be in Prince's house. I feel like there'd be, like, unicorns walking around, you know, there would be, like, bubbles going, like, up in the sky that you don't know where they came from. I just feel like wherever where Prince was, there was, like, a path, like a portal to another universe, because I feel like his parties were probably not, like, they were inhuman.
He was probably an Aquarius.
Oh, yeah, because what did you say?
Oprah, Einstein. Yeah, we got some futuristic, high-quality people, Aquariuses. But I had two sisters who were obsessed with Prince. Okay. So I knew Prince through them, and they were probably the ones at the concert crying and passing out. You know what I mean? And I listened to music. I was fairly young, and I didn't get it. But I mean, now I enjoy it more. Yeah. You know, I understand his music, but... Did
you see the video where he threw the guitar up in the air and it never came down? And this was way back before you could, like, edit stuff like that. Like,
I hadn't seen it.
He literally spins around and he throws the guitar up and it never comes back.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, he's got some magic going on. But favorite song, and I listened to it down the road, right off of Taft. My favorite Prince song ever, I thought that there was a woman in the song. Because he does his low Prince, and then you know what I mean? He's at both. And so this woman starts singing in the middle of the song, and I said to my parents, we're sitting in the car, I said, who's this girl on the track? And my dad was silent. My mom's like, she's like, Ralph, who is that? And then they're listening, and you could see them, like, downloading, and they're like, I think it's... You don't think I don't know? It's him. Yeah, I think it's. And then they looked at me and they're like, "Honey, I think that's Prince." And I was like, "Prince is a man and a woman. Like how did Prince do that?" But it was most beautiful girl in the world.
Now, how old were you when this happened?
Oh man, like 10.
Okay.
27. No.
Oh,
but like I couldn't figure. It didn't make sense because he literally at one point was like, "Girl, you know that I care about you," and it's like. And then I was like, there's no way. Yeah. So, you know, my best friend, we're like brothers, Evan, I will call him and leave him messages as Prince. And I'll just make the noises. So,
oh, goodness. Yeah, my son has he's really into music, and, you know, I'll make him be the DJ. Yeah. And so he was just like, Mom, I sometimes get confused with Prince and Queen and he's just like, how do you know the difference? And I'm thinking, like your parents, they're two different musicians, son, you know. But like you said, he's 13, so that's why I asked how old you were when you were confused. So,
a man that can throw his voice and make it echo like that.
Yeah,
I was like,
he didn't understand.
I was like, who's that woman on the track? Oh, that's Prince. Oh, okay. You know, like, and it makes sense to me now.
Yeah.
But back then, no.
No.
But I mean, I grew up on Little Richard. I mean, I just feel like it was just a different world, you know, and like you pull from all these different places. But the thing about music is if it's good, it never goes away. Yeah. So what do you listen to in the car on the way here? Last track that you listened to?
Bruno Mars.
Okay. Skate by Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I talk to my dad.
Nice.
I'm usually on the phone in the car.
Me too.
Yeah. I'm usually, talking to somebody or doing something on the phone.
I listened to Certified Lover Boy by Drake. And I was listening to the track You Only Live Twice. But it's 7 a.m. on Bridal Path is my favorite from the new album. But what I listen to, it's, okay, so this is my thing when I do my stand-up comedy and I bring it to Syracuse and I'm in the Dome. And God willing, I will sell out that Dome. Speak it into existence. When I sell out that Dome and I'm doing it, the song I'm going to come out to is Put On by Young Jeezy, because it's I Put On for my city. And I love it so much that I was thinking yesterday on the way to my show, I'm like, why is this not my hype song before every live broadcast on site? So I played it last night on the way to the Wildcat, and it's the last song I played here.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Or at least end with it.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got to incorporate it.
I was like, am I a Young Jeezy fan? But that song,
it fits.
Yeah, I Put On for my city. And I was like, I already know how I'm going to come out, and how I was like, everybody that knows me knows, and I had that mic, and I will drop that mic. I will drop that mic when I'm done. But I got a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to unpack. So here, the Grind with Grimes, Mary Grimes, LeMoyne women's basketball head coach, new head coach, even though a familiar face, and a new Cafe Kubal, even though a familiar face in the community here. So it fits that Mary's here with the Grind with Grimes at the opening, the grand opening of the Sweetheart Corners Cafe Kubal all day long today. I'm very excited for this. And make sure if you're coming to LeMoyne to see the game this afternoon, at a soccer game on the field, before you go there, go grab yourself a coffee, a tea, get some pumpkin spice. Don't hate on it. I love it. So do what you got to do. But Mary, before we hop out of here, you've been such a great sport. We've talked about everything. Your facial cues have told me, I'm like, does she want to go to this area? Because I'm watching her. I'm like, we went to a lot of different places, but we did a lot of musical stuff. I'm going to flip it to you and say, you're a coach, you get to lead. I'm used to leading my show. What's a topic, basketball or not, that you want to talk about this morning?
Oh, wow.
By the way, I've never done this with anybody. I've done rapid fire, but I've never given a guest the opportunity to choose our next topic. So this is history in the making with Mary Grimes.
Wow. I would say favorite memory as a kid.
Favorite memory as a kid? Yeah. Anything with my grandfathers. Yeah. So they passed away when I was 6, both of them in 1992. And that year, I found out so many years later that a ton of music and movies that I love came out in 92, but I knew nothing of that year except for them. So I would go back. There's distinct memories that I have. My dad's dad, my grandpa Tortora, I called him Pop Miller because he worked at Miller Brewing Company. So he built me a swing in the basement. And I'll never forget that we were down in the basement. He was always working. I always had to work on something. And he was World War II vet, went to World War II when he was 18, fought on the front lines in Germany for a year and a half, saw God knows what. And so he's downstairs in the basement, always wore a white t-shirt, black pants every day. And he was like magnets and stuff and just taking all these screws, put things together, taking things apart. And you could hear the kids outside and you could see a little window. And I said, Grandpa, why'd you build me this swing? And I'd always go down there and swing with him, and he'd give me magnets to play with, and I could pick up the screws with him. And I said, why is the swing here? And he said, well, Daniel, he said, I want you to be a kid, and I want you to know what it's like to be outside and enjoy that with all the kids. And he looked outside and he said, but I selfishly also want you here with me. So he built me an indoor swing so I could be a kid and not have to leave his side. And so that sits with me a lot. And then, I mean, it's crazy, 30 years ago, and I can literally just pull up all this information. I think about them all at least once a day. And then my other grandpa, my Grandpa Cavino, my mom's dad, I would say there's a lot of memories with him too, but he technically was the first person that let me drive. I was 3. And we were going to, actually where the Cafe Kubal is on 3501 James Street, and Mother's Cupboard, we were driving down that hill to the James Street Wegmans, which we always went to, and he picked me up. He had a giant car. This car was like a boat. And he picked me up and put me on his lap, and he said, we were at the light, he goes, Daniel, you're going to drive. He was like, have you ever driven? And I'm like, no, I was 3. And he was like, come here. He picks me up, puts me on his lap, And I said, well, how are we going to drive? And I looked down, and he had his foot on the pedal, and he let go of the wheel, and he let me drive down the hill.
That's awesome.
So when my mom thought that she let me practice when I was 15, I waited for the statute of limitations to be over, and I was like, technically, your father let me drive first.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, if I could go back anywhere, I would go back to my grandfather's, and I don't know, I saw them almost every day, but I would see them, I probably just wouldn't leave their side for 6 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I would have to say just growing up in a neighborhood with a lot of kids. You know, we talked about it earlier, just being able to play soccer in the backyard or, football. And, that's why I think I give my kids a lot of leeway. And it's important that they have kids in the neighborhood. We just moved to East Syracuse, and my daughter's already got a friend. We were there for 2 days. And I just let her go across the street and play, because I think that's important. And, I was able to dribble the basketball in the house. My son's been dribbling around. It's driving me crazy a little bit, but I think it's important. If he loves it and wants to dribble, I think that's part of being a kid. And, he's never going to forget that he got to dribble in the house. Maybe one day he'll let his kids dribble in the house. There's a cartoon strip in a newspaper that I end up taking a picture of. The kid drew a basketball hoop and was throwing eggs at the wall. He drew it on the wall, and the father comes over and is just like, "Son, what are you doing? You got to follow through when you do this." So he wasn't mad that a kid drew on the wall and was throwing eggs, but he was just encouraging him playing sports. And I think that's just part of being a kid and what I remember most.
Yeah, I remember my mom I knew how many times, for the most part, I knew how many times I could dribble before I got yelled at.
Yeah.
So it was I would just do it. She'd step outside for a second. I'd do it some more. I always had the small basketball that you'd win at the fair.
Yep.
And it's funny, in my home now, I have a Toronto Raptors basketball. I've been a fan since the beginning, like 94 when the logo came out. And I have a Raptors basketball, and I dribble it in my house.
Wow.
Play with my dog and whatever. And but I was like, listen, I wanted to have that. I have that. If and when I ever had a kid, I would want them to be like, hey, do you?
Yeah.
I play soccer in the house. I love that. We play in a little tight corridor, and you try to score on each other. You'd figure out what the goal was and whatnot. But yeah, I always knew, because we had hardwood floors, how much I could dribble before I got yelled at.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy that you were allowed to dribble in the house, and that you allow your son to dribble in the house.
Yeah.
So, speaking of dribbling, what can we expect from LeMoyne this season? How would you describe the team that we're getting very, very soon on the court?
Yeah, it's coming quick. I was looking at the calendar. I would say just fast pace as we can play. Defense is going to be a premier on our team. So a lot of defense, pressing, pressure, and just to scoring as many points as we can, as fast as we can. This is a high-paced league, so you got to score to keep up.
Northeast 10, LeMoyne women's basketball had never won a Northeast 10 tournament. Gina did it. I got to be there and take video and pictures of her cutting the net down. And it was funny because she called me up. She goes, it kind of went viral. Her family got all over it. People got all over this. And I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, 800 people were on it at one point. And I was like, I think it was 810 people. I'm like, geez, Gina. And we laugh about it. But the Northeast 10, to know that LeMoyne finally broke the dam and won that, what can you say about, what you're getting in this conference and the level of competition, knowing that LeMoyne made history, and obviously you want to get back there. So
yeah, I think it was pretty special. Both times Gina's won a conference championship. I was either a player or coach on her staff.
Yeah.
But the fact that I have seen the program grow and get to this level, it's something I think that always was there. And the fact that she kind of broke that barrier and was able to just compete with those top teams and, kind of flip the conference upside down, it's been really neat to see. And, it's really competitive. A lot of them are competitive with a lot of Division I teams. So, you know, when I go out and recruit, it's not, oh, I want a Division II player. It's, can this player help us win a conference championship and a national championship? So, you know, what she built, I'm looking to just build on, and I'm excited.
The last time LeMoyne advanced in women's basketball to the NCAA tournament, Corona stopped it.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on unfinished business, even though you weren't here?
Yeah, I mean, we've already started that mindset already. We were doing conditioning yesterday, and just to have a positive mindset, or, you know, take their mind off of running per se. You know, like we're on the baseline, and I'm like, all right, who we're going to beat today? Is it Stonehill? Is it Bentley? And I let the players decide, all right, this sprint is to beat Stonehill. This sprint is to beat Franklin Pierce. So we've already started that mindset of where we want to be in the league.
I love that. I love that thought process and that mindset. Your hype videos are awesome. And I think you said Joanna Dabrowski, that like she's the one that's doing them. So not only did you have cool footage, but your footage was linked up with a song that fit what you were doing in practice. So what are your thoughts on it? I saw him yesterday, and I liked him on Instagram. So what are your thoughts on the hype videos? Yeah,
I mean, Joe's just doing an awesome job. You know, she's that young person who understands that social media. Yeah. You know, I'm happy that I retweet.
Yeah, I saw you retweet.
I do retweet, and I like and all that stuff. So it's been a blessing that she's, you know, around to help out with that social media aspect. And, you know, the more visibility we can get, the better. And I love the September song that she picked. It was very fitting. Yeah. And you know, she gets it. She's you know, she's well in tune with this age group in this social media world.
How has, and this is a conversation we'll continue throughout, I'm sure, how has coaching changed for you? Has it changed in how you have to approach a player and speak to a player?
I don't think it's changed for me that much personally. Okay. You know, I think I am who I am. I've always been very cognizant of other people's feelings. I think that's something I can kind of hang my hat on, and just how you relate to the players. You got to build that relationship that, you know, you can get on them and you can correct them, and you don't have to criticize them. You know, that was something Coach Castelli talked about, is being correctable and not criticizing. I think she put a name to it, but it's kind of how I've always been. And so I don't think I've changed that much. I think the players have, but I've just been me, and, you know, it's worked out well.
It's funny that you say that, because I asked Gina how to coach in an ever-changing world, and she said, I don't change.
Yeah.
She was like, if you are a loving and caring and faithful person, that will always withstand the test of time. And you basically just seconded that. And I think that's the truth. You know, in today's world, people want honesty because it's fleeting sometimes. And they want you to be upfront. They want you to be honest. They want you to truly care and not just say, how's your day, but mean it. Yeah. So it's funny how being a good person never goes out of style.
Yeah. See how that equates?
Yeah. See how that works? Yeah. I think somebody wrote a book about that a long time ago, about some dude that did good things. Yeah. I wonder what it was. Most highest selling book of all time. So above Oprah's book club. Yes. Also. So final piece here, two final pieces. We'll go to rapid fire in a second, but every Wednesday at 9 a.m., just announced this past week, I'm bringing in DolphinTime. So every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on WakeUpCall, on mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT, WakeUpCallDT.com, Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, and on YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. All live every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. It's Dolphin Time. And the first and third Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m., it's AD and DT, where Bob Beretta and I will pick a topic every week. And then the second and fourth is the Dolphin Dive, where I'll have student athletes, coaches, and other representatives of LeMoyne. So every Wednesday all throughout the month is dedicated at 9 a.m. to the LeMoyne College Dolphins, and it'll switch off from AD and DT to the Dolphin Dive. What are you looking forward to in having true Dolphin time every week?
I mean, just getting the visibility out there about LeMoyne, and getting it out to the community, and, you know, just building our brand and that relationship. And, you know, there's a lot of great things that's happened at LeMoyne, and I think it's been a great partnership, and it'll be exciting to have it once a week, and I'm sure it'll grow.
And I'm excited about it very much so. DolphinTime is going to be exciting. Final thing, rapid fire. So you're on the hot seat, I'm on the hot seat. We're going to do 2 apiece.
Okay.
So you can ask me whatever you want first, and we'll go from there, and we'll switch off back and forth here. So whatever you want to ask first. Could be anything in the world.
We talked about it off air.
Yeah.
Worst part of your job?
Worst part of my job? I would have to say, what did I say off the air?
We were talking about you need a driver or not need a
Oh,
driver.
yeah. I think it's, I like to drive and I like to travel, but I love to travel, actually, and I think I live in the best of both worlds because I'm in my hometown, I'm doing what I love, and at the same time, I get to go all over the country and hopefully all over the world to see things. So I'm in this thing where it's like I come home, familiar digs, mom is here, dad is here, and at the same time, like my second home of WakeUpCall and my second home in general is the state of Florida. And so I get to live in this world of I'm in central New York, I'm down in Florida. I'm at Disney, I'm in Syracuse. So, I think God has helped me find like the coolest life ever, and I hope it only gets cooler. So I would like to have a driver, but then I told you off the air like Princess Diana had a driver,
right.
So I get weird about that. Because now I got to check his like blood alcohol content, like how you doing, and who paid you for this, and does the queen like me? You know what I mean? I got to figure that out, because if the queen's not feeling me,
Yeah.
It might be my time to go. And then I got to learn how to like duck and cover and get out of the car. And did they lock the doors? And do I know how to pop the
Are
lock?
you sure
and
you're not from Detroit?
got to have that mindset. You know what I mean? I've seen too much happen. Pac, Biggie,
Yeah.
Queen, well, not Queen. Could have been Queen. Princess Diana.
Yeah.
So I get weird about that stuff. But I would like someone to drive me. But now that I've thought about that, I'm not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
So I would say worst part of my job. I do what I love, and I love what I do. I guess I would say there's not enough hours in the day because I love helping people, and I love being there for people, and I don't like saying no. Like like if there's like 3 games and they're all gonna overlap, I want to be at all of them. So it's hard for me in that sense to do that, and like the whole not sleeping. So I'm better at sleeping more. However, I said this week, I'm going to make up for the last 3 weeks. And this week was worse. So, like 2 a.m. And I always say, I'm going to get in bed, I'm going to watch some TV. I've been trying to watch one episode of Marvel's What If on Disney Plus for 3 days now. And it's the Marvel Zombies.
Yeah.
It was funny. My buddy, I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm going home to talk to the girl. And I was like, I'm going to watch Marvel Zombies with my dog. And I didn't. I washed dishes and did all kinds of other stuff and edited. And so I would say I can get better with time management always. And I don't know. I need to find a way to travel where I love getting on. There's something about getting on a plane where figuratively and literally you're above everything. And whenever I get on a plane, it's like a reset for me. When I get up in the air, I like big picture, pull out, my stress goes away, and I see things for what they are.
Yep.
And I feel like whenever I'm like jumbled, I should just get on a plane and clear my mind.
It's kind of like being on the heights.
There you go. Being up,
Yeah.
where you can see everything, as Mary Grimes talked about, because she knows how to bring it all back. So that's important. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything I don't like. I mean, by definition, my badge says that I'm in the media. But Lord knows that the media, you ain't no friends in the media, for the most part. There's not a lot of truth in the media. There's not a lot of kindness in the media. Put it to you like this. When I go to an event and, the Syracuse media is there or whatever, and the door's locked, everybody let me stand outside except for this like new kid, and he opened the door, and I went over to him. I said, "Thanks for opening the door," because these morons just watched me stand. I stood outside one time in the rain, and they watched me.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm gonna tell you that I love everything about my job, but just like Drake, you try to stop me, and I only get stronger. So, hi media. But my first question for you is, what is the one thing you would change about the world if you could change anything right now?
Climate change. I'd like to stop it. If we could just, get that under control and have the seasons the way they used to be, and I would say climate change. I think, in the long run, it'll do us good. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't eat beef. I don't eat pork.
Yeah.
I feel like that's my way to help with the climate changes.
Yeah.
Not eating those things. Now, I would like a steak. To be honest, I'm just a little nervous to mess up my stomach.
No, I mean, it's weird when it was like 91 here for 3 weeks, and people that, I mean, the world goes through. Whether we're here or not, it goes through its change.
Yeah.
And, I think I miss the 4 seasons. My allergies are awful here, too. So I would like to get some stuff under control so that I can, breathe and stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be good. I'd love that.
Yeah.
So what is your next one?
Next question. Well, you talked about the best part of your job. That was kind of the opposite of what I was going to ask. But did we talk about your favorite sports moment ever?
Oh, wow. Favorite sports moment ever. Okay, well, I'll give you 2. One's from my life, and one is like watching a team. But in 2003, when Syracuse won the national championship, I picked them to win. In my high school, there was 2 of us, and I, back in the day, was collecting everybody's brackets back then, too. I printed out all the brackets, had a little pool, no like money or anything, but just had a pool going on, bragging rights, gave them out to everybody, had them fill out. I picked Syracuse, and for weeks, I got laughed at, yelled at, you're a homer, you're an idiot, you're stupid. They pick Kentucky, Duke, whatever.
Of course, yeah.
So when Syracuse won, I said congratulations, and I wanted to take out the brackets and congratulate this one kid. Everybody's high-fiving, talking, oh, yeah, and everybody's in the cafeteria screaming. And I said, y'all need to shut your mouths.
Bandwagon.
And I was like, y'all didn't pick the hometown. I was like, you picked Kentucky, Duke, Ohio State, Oregon. I'm taking the brackets out. Oh, well, Dan, I just did. I was like, no. Y'all made fun of me this whole and that was like notorious. The Arizona Diamondbacks made fun of me. Then when they won, nobody said a word. I was like, give credit where credit is due. When you're wrong, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know what I mean? And I don't need somebody to tell me you were wrong. I'm like, okay, I got it wrong. And I think I learned that from like opposite, that like I grew up with somebody in my family that never apologized. So I didn't want to be like that. So yeah, I would say 2003, because I was right. Ridiculous. And Hakeem Warwick wore my number 21, and everybody talks about Carmelo and Jerry, much love, but if he didn't block that shot in the corner, could have gone in overtime. So love Hakeem, finally got to interview him. That was a big moment.
Awesome.
And I would say my moment is the last year that we could play in this summer league. I was in Marcellus, and it was indoor-outdoor basketball. And we had been in the league forever, and my buddy was like always like the MVP, and he was the one that like they looked to, and I was on a different team, and I think our team was like the misfit toys. Nobody expected us to do anything, so we got into the tournament, and we had to play 2 games outside, games inside, whatnot, and I don't know, I was like last year, 14 years old, I was locked in, and I just started shooting, getting after. We kept winning. I went outside. And I did well for like 3 games in a row, and I had 9 points outside, which is with the wind and the way the hoops were and everything. I'm like, this is not as easy as it is inside. I felt like in order to hit a corner 3, you had to be really adventurous. And we ended up not only winning the championship, but I got MVP of the playoffs.
Wow.
And they notoriously spelled my name outrageously wrong. So they were like, Dan, Tortuglana, and I'm sitting here. My mom's back there, and they keep calling it. And my one buddy, he's like, he's like, I think that's you. And I looked at the guy, and he was like, does this look right? And I was like, no, but what was it for? And it was, it was for the playoffs. So my MVP certificate has my name spelled with like G's and F's and all types of weird stuff, but I got the MVP.
That's awesome.
So I'll take that. What is your favorite moment on the court?
Wow, it's been a lot. Well, this is an odd one.
Okay.
This is a really odd one. So it was when we won our MAC championship at Siena. And, Coach was big on passing the ball inside, and I think we were up one with maybe 30 seconds to go. And I went to throw the ball inside, and the defender pulled the chair on our post player. So our defender, my player fell, and I still threw the ball.
Yeah.
And I essentially turned it over. I threw it right to her hands. And I can remember it like it's yesterday. And the other team called a timeout, Fairfield, and my teammates walked over to me and was just like, it's okay. That's my favorite. Because you know what? I was determined to get the ball back, but the fact that they wrapped their arms around me and was just like, it's all right. I mean, I'll never forget that. That's the definition of team sports. And we ended up winning that championship, but, obviously it was a costly mistake. But, it's the definition of team sports.
I think it's awesome that I asked for your favorite moment and it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the outcome was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, just the emotions with it and, how I can grow from that mistake it was just unbelievable.
Well, and the thing is you don't learn without adversity.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, pressure makes diamonds, and you see how, Iron Man made that suit in that cave and he needed to heat things up and do all that stuff, you know what I mean? Like, you have to set things ablaze in order to make them bend and work and be what you want them to be. So I think, a life without adversity is a life without learning, and it's really a life where you don't accomplish anything. You have to have a couple of those checks in order to wake up.
Yeah.
And when you meet people that have never been challenged, and not like something bad has to happen, just adversity. Like, I meet people that are almost 30 years old and I'm like, have you been inside this whole time? Like, you don't know what life is.
Yeah.
Because, this thought of perfection, it doesn't exist, and it's finding your way. I think that I honestly think that the closest thing to a perfect life is when someone faces adversity and grows out of that and not only learns and betters their own health, but then they pay it forward.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, I don't want to know the person that's like, everything's sunshine and rainbows and I've never been outside. I don't want that. I want the person to be like, I know God because he was in the foxhole with me.
Right.
And I said that to somebody. I was like, you know God because it's your job. Like, you teach it in school and this is what you do, and you go to church every 5 minutes. But I was like, she's like, well, how do you love the way that he does? How did you learn that? I said, because he was with me in battle.
Yeah.
You get to know him when there's grenades going off, and I'm like, you good? He's like, you good? I'm like, well, I know you're going to be all right, but am I going to be all right? And you learn that, and I actually want to throw this out there. I don't know if you saw it on my story, but I want to throw it out to the people of the world because I said grenades, and I feel the need. I likened dating now. Do you want to know my definition of dating?
Go for it.
It's like running with a hand grenade with your hair on fire, being chased by a Teletubby who's friends with Stephen King, and wearing tube socks with sandals.
All this in Sweetheart's Corner.
That's dating. That's dating in the Sweetheart Corner.
Oh my gosh.
Did
Wow.
you? Listen, I think I'm being kind when I say
Wow. Okay.
that. Did you? People are crazy. So, but did you know Sweetheart Corners when there was the actual grocery store here and they used to make the homemade cakes?
No.
Oh wow. They used to every year. My mom would have them hand make me my birthday cake.
That's awesome.
So I remember.
What's your favorite?
Oh man,
Like chocolate, vanilla, like what?
My favorite one here was my Pluto Cake, which was they drew like literally with icing, drew Pluto's face. It was on a brown cake, so they was like chocolate. I think all chocolate, like chocolate on chocolate. If there's 7 layers, I want 8. If there's 9, I want 13. So chocolate everything.
Okay.
If you give me vanilla cake, you have to sell me on it.
Okay.
But it's got to have chocolate somewhere. And no Bavarian cream, none of that garbage. But like chocolate raspberry. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, I was like, I'm like a snob now. I go to a party and they're like, we have a birthday cake. And I'm like, is it chocolate? Is there chocolate icing on it? Dan, it's buttercream with lemon. I'm like, I'm good. Happy birthday too. I'm good. I don't need it. You keep that for yourself. So yeah, I'll walk away from that. But no, it's got to be like chocolate on chocolate. And I like if there's mousse in there. And what's yours?
Vanilla.
I was gonna say by the way you looked at me, like vanilla.
Vanilla.
Yeah,
Vanilla cake, vanilla icing.
So the exact opposite.
Yeah. And I, you know, that's the only thing I ever want for my birthday is a box cake.
A box cake.
Yeah, box cake.
Okay.
Yeah. So my son's gotten to the point where he can make it. You know,
Okay.
Limited supervision, so that's what we get.
So you get a box cake.
Box cake.
I
Right
like
out
it.
the oven.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like Carvel ice cream cake.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
And Carvel DeWitt. So
Yes.
good. They made one look like a giant cheeseburger. That was cool.
Yeah.
Because it's all like, and then when the people are like, there's that person that I always hope to like be friends or know that person that's at the party that goes, I don't really want my icing. And I'm like, do you not like happiness? And they're like, well, do you want it? I'm like, I feel like someone just handed me $100 bill, and they're like, do you want this? I don't really. So yeah, so I need to be friends with the person that doesn't like their icing, or I just need to follow you at the party when you're like, all they have left is chocolate, and I'm like, oh, I'll take it.
Exactly. There you go.
Take that. So that being said, the grind with Grimes, Mary Grimes, LeMoyne women's basketball head coach, new head coach coming back here to the community, and a new Cafe Kubal that's been here in the community. So it makes perfect sense, the parallel of Mary Grimes and Cafe Kubal here with you at Sweetheart Corners, and corner of Route 11 and Taft Road is where you need to be. Indoor and outdoor seating. The balloons are up all day. Come out and see them. And, of course, all week long, and you can drive through the drive-thru. And when you're picking up people that you love at the airport, just come right over here. It's literally across the road. It's a couple seconds from the airport. And, you know, maybe during Thanksgiving, you can come out to get coffee and hide here. So I know some people do that too, you know, whatever you got to do. But it's fantastic inside. Love Sweetheart Corners. And they just did a new mural up here. And Aldea is one of the most incredible artists that I've ever met. And she's here in our community. And she remade the Sweetheart Corners sign. And it's newly added here onto the wall, which is perfect. And we'll make sure we take a picture of it. So, Mary, as always, I appreciate it. Appreciate the Dolphins, and happy to have you back.
Yes, this was great. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, awesome. We'll talk with you all soon.